Here we go.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and Dr. Vibe. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team in 2022 and 2021, we reach out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And yes, I'm still part of that team. I'm just saying, yes, the stats are for 2022 and 2021. I am still part of that team. We are broadcasting live on, what's the date today? Oh, May 14th. It's still summer-like-ish in Toronto. The weather's cooled down a little bit, but we're back. After a little bit of a break on Black Canada Talking, and if you haven't been with us, or if you have been with us, just want to tell you Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that have importance to them. And today we have another new friend. Well, I've known this wonderful lady, and happy Mother's Day. We're broadcasting live on Mother's Day, and it's funny. Before we went live, I said, wow, I didn't realize it was Mother's Day. If you wanted to cancel, I would understand, but she's here. So Lisa Dennis is here. She's an award-winning entrepreneur who received a Master's of Science from Dalhousie University. Is now doing doctoral studies at Boston University. A rehabilitation professional since 1999. She has experience in program coordination, setting up a rehab departments, case management, community care, teaching at a private college, culturally competent clinical practice, as well as working with aboriginal youth at risk and inmates. She owns her own rehabilitation company in Halifax, which we'll hear a little bit about today too. And that service offers brain rehab services to people of all ages. She has struggled with the personal experience of her own brain-based disorders, and this drives her to find cutting-edge intervention to help heal brains. She has training in rehab techniques to help with trauma, mental illness, concussions, reading and learning difficulties. She also has a special interest in post-traumatic slave syndrome, the school-to-prison pipeline, and in finding ways to improve health outcomes and services for Black people. So as you understand, just by reading that, I already told her before we went live, you're coming on more than once because we're not going to be able to cover everything in this conversation. It's just not going to happen. She's a proud African Canadian from Montreal and mother of 2 teenagers. Again, happy Mother's Day. And she enjoys good boxing. I didn't know that about her. Zumba and weight training. I didn't know these things. Good boxing, Zumba, and weight training workout. Well, if I don't behave, she's going to lick me. There you go. There you go. Very good. So as she is smiling in the background, why don't we bring Lisa Dennis on the conversation with us? What is up, Lisa?
Hey, Dr. Vibe, how's it going?
I'm outstanding. It's so good. You know what? And just a little insight, family. We've known each other for about a year or so.
About a year, yeah.
And I've been blessed. I don't. She thinks I'm blessed. She's blessed. So I've been helping Lisa along her business and also personal journey. And about 2 weeks ago, we were talking about media coverage, etc. And I just put it out there to Lisa. How can you get some media coverage? Blank.
Sorry.
Blank. And I said, Lisa.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Vibe.
There you go. So we have Lisa here, and as I've told you already, family, I'm already asking her to come on more than once because I think just 1 or 2 of the topics we're going to discuss today are going to take the whole conversation.
Yeah, probably.
So we're looking forward to it. So Lisa, welcome. Happy Mother's Day. How you doing today?
Thanks. I'm doing good. I was telling you I did a bit of barbecuing today. Got cleaned out the grill. Cooked some chicken and some potatoes, which tastes really good on the grill.
So Lisa and I have another thing in common because if people don't know, I love to barbecue all year round. And Lisa's one of the few people I know, who A lot of people like to barbecue, but she also barbecues all year round, just like myself. So we have more things in common. And probably after this, I'm gonna season up some jerk on my chicken, let it marinate for about an hour or two. It's on the grill. So she's my validation to do my grilling today. Excellent. So Lisa, again, thanks for coming on. And we shared a lot about your professional background. Can
Yeah.
you give a little bit of information, like where you grew up? Sounds like you grew up in Montreal. What was that experience like?
Yeah, born and raised in Montreal. My I'm the oldest of four kids. My parents are from Trinidad and Tobago, and
Trinity?
Trini in the house, and and yeah, they moved here. They moved to Canada, just before I was born, and so all four of us were born in Montreal. And I've moved around a lot. I was married to a military spouse, a member, and at this point I've lived in four provinces. You know, other than Quebec, Ontario. Lived in Petawawa, and lived in Ottawa for a while there, and then lived in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Labrador. Yeah, I know. I knew the whole Black community. I'm just saying. People, on my fingers can count them all. And now, living in Halifax. Yeah, so been
You
around.
you have traveled around this country a lot. Were there any places you enjoyed more than others?
Montreal. At the end of the day, with all the moves, I didn't realize how spoiled I was when I was living in Montreal, being a Montrealer. Just the diversity, the openness, you, racism is everywhere. But at least in Montreal, I kind of understand and feel like I'm seen still. There's still some issues there, no doubt about it. But I what I liked about the fact that I kind of traveled around was the fact that I've lived in urban cities, I've lived in rural areas, I've lived in northern, areas as well, and I've seen a lot of Canada, right? Just in that. So I've seen pros and cons in each of the provinces, but really got a good feel of just working with people of different walks of life. You know, I've worked with many different people. People in prison. I've worked with military members. I've worked with older adults. Worked with pediatrics. So I've kind of seen a lot of the country, and I find that informs, and teaches me a lot about different ways of solving problems and different cultures, and so I think I'm better for it.
Nice. How did you get into your professional career?
Yes, well, it's a good story. I mean, I knew that I liked the sciences in high school. I mean, I preferred biology, chemistry a bit, physics not so much, but I had to get through that to get to university. And so, after I graduated from high school, I knew that I wanted to be in a helping profession. I didn't know which one I wanted to go in, but in the end, I decided to go into rehab medicine, and went to McGill University in Montreal and did my degree there. I did struggle. I was coming out of a very unhealthy home environment, and so just getting in, I knew that staying in school was going to be my way out of that bad unhealthy situation. So I just kind of stuck with it. I mean, I wasn't like top student because I was going through a lot of other mental health issues at the time and just trying to survive. But I did make it through university, and then even after I graduated, I still needed a bit of time to kind of screw my head back on. So I did some other things. I was really involved in my church, so I did a bit of youth ministry for a few years there, and then decided to go back to the field and finish off my internships, and then started working in rehab. So a bit of a journey, winding road, but eventually I got there.
Throughout your winding road, what kept you going?
I think just knowing that I could have a better life than what I was living. Right. You know, I grew up in, there was alcoholism, there was abuse, and I was the oldest of four, so I felt I kind of had this responsibility to kind of look out for my younger siblings. I stayed at home much longer than I should have. I didn't leave until I was in my mid 20s. and should have left earlier because it was toxic for me. But I had a faith in God, not so much at the beginning, but by the time I turned 19, I witnessed my dad having a born again experience, and after all those years of going to church and like just kind of going for going sake and not realizing that you could actually have a relationship with God. When I saw him go through that, because he liked church, not he was like a Christmas and Easter kind of church kind of goer, right? So when I saw that he had this really big experience, I was like, wait a second, you mean God's actually real? I was like, what? Right. And so then I started being more open to learning about God and having that relationship with God. And I kind of gave God an ultimatum. I said, listen, if I'm tired of this game of going to church and not getting anything out of it. So, if you're not going to reveal yourself to me, then I'm out of here. Right. And so God kind of showed up in a very powerful way for me. And that's really what kept me sane. He also put a good counselor in my life to get the counseling that I needed, because in the Black family home we don't talk about mental health. We what happens at home stays at home, right? That's what we're taught, and it's partly because we don't want the social worker coming in to take our kids away, right? And which does happen, right? So it makes sense that we kind of do that as to survive, but at the same time we're hurting ourselves. We're not getting better. We're still, I struggled years with mental illness. I was with anxiety since I was like 8 years old, having panic attacks at that young age and not knowing what it was and how to process that, right? And just kind of you know figuring things out as I went along, but not having the professional help that I needed, right? So by the time I got to my 20s, like I was like a mess. I was not healthy. Thankfully, I wasn't into drugs and alcohol. I just tried to keep my nose clean and just trying to get through school. And my faith informed that as well. And because I knew if I did the drugs and the alcohol, my life would be worse. It was already bad enough as it was. I didn't want to make it worse. So that's kind of my journey. That's why I'm kind of an advocate right now for like mental health, mental illness, recognizing the signs and symptoms of it, so that, and then more importantly, doing something about it, right? A lot of our people um, resort to suicide as well, right? Or they resort to alcohol, drugs, and it's a coping mechanism, right? But it's not. It's making it sicker. We're not getting stronger, right? We're not advancing as a community, and we need to get off ourselves and do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've got to apologize for people. My audio probably sounds a lot better now. I do make mistakes. My microphone was down at my feet.
That doesn't help. I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me, but they're going,
Okay.
So sorry about that. I really got to get a producer. I got to stop trying to do everything. Like I'm not. So my apologies for the not great audio at the beginning, family. It should sound better now. So
Sounds
my
good.
bad. Okay. So I like to be honest. I can't. I won't use that word. There's a word. Forget it. We'll just get over that. So let me ask you then.
Yeah.
Doing like taking. So what you are now? You had to take a lot of courses, a lot of
Yeah.
studying.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. My program was like a three. Well, I did it in four. Like I said, I needed to kind of screw my head back on, but it was 4 years. And then a lot of intense. Like I remember the first semester we were there, we were dissecting human beings, like to learn all the muscles in the body, right? I'm like, what the heck did
Right.
I sign up for, right? So yeah.
Two questions, two conversation pieces for you. During your studies, how many other non-melanated people
Oh,
did you?
good question. I was the only Black person in my class. So let me break it down for you. There was three.
Please.
Yeah, there was two separate classes in different streams. Okay. U1, U2, and U3. So 3 years of those streams. So you had six classes, right? Of students, and each class had about 40 to 50 students. In all six classes, 40 to 50 students, I had never seen another Black person walk them halls.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the only Black student out of what's 60 times six, right?
360.
Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So the only other Black person I ever saw was actually a teacher, but she was not even one of my teachers. So yeah, I no melanated people except for me.
Wow.
Pretty
And is
interesting.
that it, now? Is that the same in regards to when you graduated?
Yeah, well, all through the years, I never seen.
Wow.
By the time I got to my third year, I never seen another black person in the house. And it was small schools. I mean, we had two buildings that we kind of pretty much went from, and then like two little houses. It was, and then there was the big medical building we'd go to as well. But within my program, no, nobody. Yeah, it's
How
bad.
did that? How did that feel?
You know what? I don't even think I realized it. And so here's the story though: is that when I first applied to the program, I actually didn't get in, and I decided to go into physiology instead. I spent like barely a day in physiology when I saw it posted at the like we have like a union building for students, right? And I saw it posted that they're increasing enrollment in the program. So I marched over to the school that same day and I said, "Hey, why didn't I get in?" Right? And so I didn't realize it then now, but now that I look back in retrospect, she said, I spoke with her for about an hour. She says, "Okay, let's put you in." And I'm like, "Okay, good." Right. It was probably because she could see me face to face and realize that I was black. I probably made the cut because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it worked out in my favor to kind of walk up to her and say, "Hey, I want to try this program." Right. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. So if you didn't do that extra effort, it wouldn't have happened.
probably not. Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
And what did it feel like graduating?
It felt really good. I was super proud of myself. I remember I actually had a rough day that day because I had the worst migraine ever. I don't usually get migraines. I think I've had two migraines in my life, and it happened to be on the same day of my actual graduation. I'm like, right, yeah, Murphy's law. But I was super proud of myself that I actually made it through the program, and it was there was some not so easy times there in that program, but yeah. And I at that point I said that was getting my bachelor's. I said to myself after I finished that, I was like, I'm never going for master's. I'm never doing any other school again, right? And then it wasn't until like so I graduated in 1994, and then it wasn't until 2011 that I decided to go back to school, and I went back slowly. It was through Dalhousie, and then I did one course. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And the next thing you know, I entered the master's program and finished that. It took me 7 years part time because I was a military spouse traveling around all over the country, having babies and that kind of stuff. So, but I finally graduated, and interestingly enough, by the time we got posted to Halifax, that was the same year I graduated from Dalhousie at Halifax. So I actually got to go to the ceremony and everything. I was pretty proud of myself then too. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Celebrating in your success. That's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
So, as I said, there is a myriad of conversation topics we could
Yeah.
attack, go at today, but I think we're going to start on this journey because I know it's going to be at least a second part. A lot of times we hear the term school to prison pipeline
Yes.
from Black Canada. Think we hear about it so much in the United States,
Yeah.
but it's also a social economic challenge here in Canada.
Yeah.
So
So
let's talk about that today.
sure. I'd love to. That's actually the focus of my doctorate. I decided to, after I finished my master's, pretty much that same, by the fall, I was enrolled at Boston University because I didn't feel like I had really finished what I wanted to finish in the master's level. So my focus there is looking at how Black children get onto the school to prison pipeline. And what I found so far is that suspensions is pretty much the what catapults our kids onto that pathway, right? And suspensions for Black kids is happening as early as preschool.
What?
Yes, I was surprised too. I thought it was like, grade 2 or something, but preschool, our kids are getting suspended or they don't have the right behavior, whatever the case may be. So they kind of kick them out of preschool. So it starts as early as that. So we're talking like a 4 or 5 year old, right? And the more that a Black child is suspended, and they go to different kind of classroom, an alternative classroom or whatever, then it just kind of creates this pattern of of, always being punished. And suspensions is pretty much like juvenile detention, pretty much like prison, right? So it just ends up happening whereby the young student never really finishes high school, or if they do finish high school, they don't finish with the credits they need to go on to a higher level institutions like universities.
What prompted you to study this subject?
Oh, good question. I, it, that's I can't even remember what led me. At first, when I was doing my master's, I was looking at fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, and that's when mom drinks alcohol during her pregnancy.
Can I just interrupt with that? It's
Yeah.
interesting. There is a lady that I have on this platform periodically. Her name is Dr. Alicia Watkins,
Okay.
and she's based in Chicago. And she's a trauma specialist. She actually has her master's in social work, and she's been counseling Black couples for over 20 years. And she recently did a post about that subject and Cardi B,
Okay.
and just the impact of, potentially maybe that having on some of her Cardi B's, she said, interesting behaviors.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders are very interesting in that it's totally preventable, right? Mom should not be drinking at all during the pregnancy. But sometimes mom's drinking and not realizing she's pregnant, right? If it was a surprise pregnancy, right, she wouldn't know, right? And so, but hopefully, if she is, once she finds out, she stops, right? But alcohol is like one of the biggest teratogens that causes injury in children by the time they're born. And it depends on what point in time of the pregnancy that mom drank. It will affect the fetus at that point in time. Like if the brain is, well, the brain is developing all the way through, but if certain organs are developing at a certain time, then it's going to affect that at that time, right? So yeah, drinking and then you have moms that are alcoholics and have a hard time giving up the alcohol, right? And they're pregnant. But yeah, I saw a lot of kids when I was working up north, and I don't want to say this is an Aboriginal problem, it's an everybody problem, but that's where I first learned about it, right? And so that's what prompted me to go into my master's. And I don't know, at one point, I had to change streams, and then I don't even know what maybe come along the school to prison pipeline, except that I was really interested in how the brain works, and how we can heal the brain and how we can rehabilitate the brain. And there's this misunderstanding that people think that you're stuck with the brain you have, right? And that, oh, you can't read, here's a computer, use that, or here's text to speech, let it read to you, or you can't write, just get a computer to do for you, right? There's this tendency to give accommodations when it's too soon. And our people are getting diagnosed with learning disabilities left, right, and center. And so that really ticks me off, because the brain can learn. I have tons of different tools that I can use to help with reading, for instance, right? Reading is a very tough skill to learn, because you need your eyes to work to take in information and process. You need your ears to work to process the sound and sound it out. And subvocalization is when you hear yourself reading those words out in your head. And you need the working memory to work as well, right? So, and then usually what people do is they say, well, just give them a tutor. Well, a tutor is the equivalent of if I was your coach and you were doing track and field, right? And I said, okay, Dr. Bob, we're going to go and, do this sprint, but you had a sprained ankle, right? I could be the best coach in the world. You're not getting anywhere on that sprained ankle unless that ankle is healed.
Yep.
Right? So it's the same thing with reading. Like, you can have the best tutor in the world, but if the brain is not processing that information in a way through the eyes, the ears, the memory, then you're not going to learn how to read until you work on those separate skills and strengthen those areas. And then you can get the tutor to help you catch up on what you missed. Right? So that's what happened. So that kind of led me in the whole school to prison pipeline, because, teachers are labeling our kids as learning disabled, attention issues, get them medicated, and not realizing that there's other issues. Like, there could be trauma. Trauma looks like attention issues, processing issues look like like you have an attention issue. And the only way that you can help these kids get better is by actually dealing with the root cause. And then when you deal with the root cause, then they're reading and then they're progressing, right? So I got interested in that piece in terms of helping rehabilitate kids so they don't end up on the school to prison pipeline. But the focus more on my work, on my doctorate for the present time, is that I want the teachers to be held accountable. You don't have the right to label my child or label me as a Black child in your classroom as learning disabled when you have the bias. Okay, you are biased against Black people because you don't know any better, it's fine. It's time for you to get in check, for them to get in check with their bias. And so my work is about teaching them the skills, one, to recognize their bias, but two, to do something about it, so that they don't label our kids as learning disabled and put our kids on the school to prison pipeline because of their bias. So yeah.
No problem. Short break here. We are talking with Lisa Dennis of Lisa's Holistic Rehab and Neurofeedback Inc. on Black Canada Talking. And also want to encourage everybody, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. And if you do it on YouTube, also hit the notification button so you'll get notified of great conversations like this one. Also, you can like it on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are watching this. Like it, share it, tell people about it. It's a beautiful thing. So as we get back to this, and I'm just going to jump onto Instagram Live just to tell everyone, here we go. So yeah, Dr. Vibe here. We are on Black Canada Talking on Sundays at 5 p.m. where we get Black Canadians to share their thoughts, their journeys, their lives, their POV on things. We have Lisa Dennis on from Holistic Rehab and Neurofeedback Inc. We're talking about the school to prison pipeline. So let's get back to talking about that. How much information is there in Canada about the school to prison pipeline?
Yeah, I'm still working through that data. Right now, it's everything that I have is articles based in the States. But I know that there's tons of studies that are being conducted. I mean, in Halifax here, they had the BLAC study, BLAC study, that kind of looked at the issues of Black youth being suspended and not progressing, and what they have IPPs, individual program plans. It's different in the country in terms of the school systems, but essentially it's when they put a child on a learning plan because they're not expected to meet the outcomes of the curriculum. So they put them on a plan whereby they're not expected to meet those outcomes, right? And then they still hang out with their friends, but they're on an IPP. And then by the time they get to high school and graduate in grade 12, they can't go on to university because they don't have all the credits, right? So a disservice is being done because you put them on an IPP too soon. And Black and Aboriginal kids here are put on it, 1.5 times more than a white kid.
How long, in your opinion, has this been an issue in Canada? Has it been basically for forever and ever? And because I still don't hear enough of it. I hear about it a little bit, but I don't think to the amount that we need to hear about it in Canada, especially in Black Canada.
Yeah. I think it was, now we know a little more than we did when I was a kid in the 70s, 80s, right? I mean, but it's still an issue whereby, our prisons are getting full of our Black men and women, right? And it's because of, education. Like, I think education is, gets you to a place where you can actually succeed, right? And so, but if we're being penalized because of their bias or their labeling of us, then we're missing out on good talent, right? All of our young Black kids could be the doctors and the lawyers and the Dr. Vibes and in rehab medicine, and you know what I'm saying? Doing amazing things, right? But they never get the chance because they are labeled too early. It's not right. Right. So that's kind of, I don't know where my work's going to take me. That's where I'm going to start and see where it takes me.
What are the concerns from a systemic lens on this? And why do the systems still allow this to happen? Is it because we as a people aren't pushing back enough?
I think that's part of it for sure. I mean, with this is a discussion we both have. I don't know that I have all the answers, but it was something that, Black Canada can be talking about as well and give their opinion. But, I think that, there's this like I said before, in terms of the brain-based disorders, there's this misunderstanding that you're stuck with the brain you have. And so there's, I see a lot of people on accommodations that shouldn't be on accommodation so soon, right? And a lot of parents. I mean, I was involved in talking to some parents about helping them recognize the difference between accommodations and rehabilitation, and knowing which is which and what to ask for, how to advocate for on behalf of your child. So I think advocacy. If the parents of these children didn't finish high school themselves, maybe they're not, or they're not as involved in them because of negative feelings that they even had themselves, right? That would problem. Why does racism exist, right? I mean, why is that not been eradicated, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. So I think we just need to be empowered, and we need to learn ways to advocate for ourselves better.
Nice. On the Instagram live side, want to shout out to you, Guerriere, and also Digital Stem Cell. Thank you so much for watching a little bit of this conversation. We're chatting with Lisa Dennis of Lisa's Holistic and Rehab and Neurofeedback, which is based in what city?
Halifax.
Halifax. We got East Coast. We got East Side today. So if you're wanting to catch more of this conversation, because it's only going to be up for a few more minutes, go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, subscribe, watch it live. The live and the replay will be available there, but you're catching a little tease here. So Lisa, now another question I want to ask. How many people at the educational level do you encounter pursuing this school to prison pipeline challenge?
I haven't come across people in terms of that particular interest. I think, the educators I've met, they know that that's a byproduct of it. Especially if they're on an IPP. So I see more educators involved in terms of, dealing with IPPs and not putting our kids on IPPs as a start, right?
Can I interrupt? What is? I don't know this term IPP. What's IPP?
Individual program plans.
Right.
That's what we call it here. They call it different things in different provinces, but basically it's a plan that the teachers make with the parents and the students, so that they can either catch up with their peers or put them on another stream whereby they kind of just do less of the curriculum, or they're not expected to meet the curriculum. So they just kind of, it's like Bobo class, I call it, right? It's like they're not, and part of that is because they don't realize that there's interventions you can do to actually help them. People can learn to read if there's different tools that can help strengthen those different areas of the brain, right? So I think that's part of the problem. Yeah.
Nice. When you tell other melanated people, I just want to shout out to DJ Dr. LJ Speaks. Thank you. Also the official author Angie. Hey, thanks for jumping in on IG Live. We're talking about the school to prison pipeline in Black Canada.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Black Americans say, oh, it's only in America. It's here too.
It's here too.
It's here too. So, and because I segued there, I forgot what I was going to ask you, but let me pick up in another area.
Okay.
With the school to prison pipeline, when you have conversations with parents, you being a melanated parent, what are they telling you?
A lot of them are saying that their kids are getting diagnosed with learning disabilities. ADHD is a big one. Comes up a lot. And teachers are asking the parents to medicate their child. Teachers are getting to the point where they're actually diagnosing the child. Right?
Hold on a second. Teachers are diagnosing the child.
In terms of, if they have a kid that's in the classroom that's acting up, not paying attention, being disruptive, they're at the point that kid probably has, and they name the diagnosis, right? So
how did they know that?
They don't, and they shouldn't, but they do. And then they're saying, I need your child medicated if they're going to come back to class, right? Some of them are as bold as that, right? And so, or they say, you need to get your kid checked by a psychologist, get testing, psychological testing to find out what's going on with them, right?
So hold on. So these are opinions
Yes, opinions.
by individuals who have no medical background.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I just want you to continue.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I'm not saying that all teachers like that. Some of them are, are totally great, and they are able to integrate the child and help them learn, because we all learn differently, right? Some of us are visual learners, some of us are auditory learners, kinesthetic, meaning we need to move to learn. At the end of the day, I think a lot of us need at least two different forms of, use more of our senses, and we'll all learn, right? So gone should be the days of where you're supposed to sit in the classroom nice and proper, and yes madam, yes sir type of thing. And when I was working up north, they really understood how to work with the kids, right? And I would walk into the classroom, and they would have these like those dividers, and it was made out of cardboard, right? And so they would actually, when a kid was supposed to go and do some sort of reading, the kid would go to the back of the room, get the divider, bring it either at their desk or lie down on the floor, put it there, and then do their work, right? They were really in tune with the sensory needs of the children, right? And that's the vision that I see for schools across Canada at the end of the day, because we all learn differently. And the sooner that, educators are recognize that and accommodate that, then we'll have, all children will be succeeding in the classroom, right? We all have, it's time for things to change. And that's one way that it can change.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to shut it down on IG Live.
Okay.
In regards to this conversation, you'll hear more of it if you go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Subscribe, notify, share it out, tell people about it. But again, thanks for taking some time watching an IG Live, and catch the rest of the conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show channel on YouTube. Be well and keep the faith. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's come back, and what can parents do? What can melanated parents do? Because when they get this at their lap, probably a large majority of them have no idea.
Yeah.
And they're basically out in the woods when this gets presented and saying, hey, your child needs this, your child needs that.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, a lot of times it's from someone who doesn't look like them. Exactly.
So, it doesn't hurt to get a psychological test. I mean, it's good to know. I personally would prefer to get someone private to do it for me, as opposed to getting it done in the school system, because then it kind of follows the child. But if you can't afford it, I mean, at least you have something. But
Lisa, let me ask, why do you say it's better to get done privately versus public?
Well, for me, it's about having more control of the report. If you pay for it out of your pocket, you can decide who you want to share it with. It's really that. Okay. So, I would, but they cost like $3,000 plus. So it's expensive.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you could find like a psychological intern or something, or there's ways to kind of get testing done, different. So, I would say it doesn't hurt, but at the same time, you got to ask yourself, why are you getting it done? Because, if you're getting it done, it should be because you actually want something done about it, right? It's like, it's good to know about a diagnosis, but if you have no resources or anything to do anything about it, then, you just have this piece of paper you pay $3,000 for. That's kind of not really helpful, right? Yeah. So, you need the recommendations, but, definitely you talk to somebody in rehab who understands sensory processing issues and a root cause of why there might be some attention issues, some learning issues. And because there's ways to rehabilitate that, right? And in what I see on a constant basis is that I see kids that are labeled as having attention problems, but then I ask the parents, did the child ever have any ear infections when they were a baby? And more often than not, a lot of parents go, yeah, how did you know? Yeah. So what happens is that if you have ear infections as a baby, as a child, the ear doesn't develop properly. Okay, it's like, you know,
Oh,
when you're on, it's like picture being underwater. When you're underwater, how much can you hear? How much information are you taking in, right? You're not. So that's their experience of the world. And then so those tubes end up, you know, might be, or if you put tubes in the ears, that kind of stuff, there might be some work that needs to be done to rehabilitate those ears, right? To process that information better. So, so I, you know, for myself, I offer like listening programs. I do listening tests as opposed to hearing tests. You're just kind of figuring out what frequencies of sound the child is picking up, right? Because even speech is frequencies of sound, right? If you can't get certain high frequencies, you're going to miss words, right?
right.
So, so you need to figure. So, kids with air infections, history of air infections, even some of the antibiotics that's given to them is ototoxic, meaning it's toxic for the ear, right? The parents don't know to ask for that. They don't know, is this an ototoxic antibiotic? I mean, who knows about that, right? You don't. So, but these are things that you need to be aware of. So if the ears are not working properly, then it's not processing information properly. And this can look like attention issues, right? There's other diagnoses that mimic attention issues. It could be like diabetes, if or it could be processing, not able to process things visually, or it could be trauma, or it could be the child didn't eat, is not eating well. You're not, maybe because of poverty, the child's not eating every day. So I don't know how well you pay attention on an empty stomach. I don't, right?
No.
So, so there's lots of it's important to get a rehab professional's opinion in terms of why there's these attention issues, these learning difficulties, and what can be done to rehabilitate the child. So that's one thing that can be done for sure.
Okay. Again, is there a possibility that one of the hurdles too is melanated people not trusting non-melanated people's opinion?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Definitely. Like I said, if they're being labeled, right, then there's reason not to believe and to trust, right? And that's a whole other can of worms, right?
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
we don't have eons of time to unpack that, but for sure that's part of it. I think learning how to advocate for yourself is important. The more you understand what's going on, the more you're able to advocate, right? It's important to be involved as much as possible. Like there's parents that either don't have the time or don't have the interest or don't trust the system or weren't educated enough to understand and might be intimidated, a whole variety of reasons. But if you're not involved, studies are showing that it's not good outcomes for the child in terms of schooling, right? So parental advocacy is important.
How does a melanated student, like, is there and I'm not saying this in a process on how they end up? How's it, we hear the term school to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
What are the steps of that? Like they're in school, and I guess is it
suspended? Suspension is the biggest indicator. Yeah. So and that happens as early as preschool now, but it's happening a lot. Our kids are getting suspended a lot, and it's because either teachers don't understand our culture, they don't understand the way we talk, our movement styles. We get punished for even the certain word, just the way we talk with one another, right? Or if you were to look at all the reasons, I would love to see all the reasons why our Black kids are being punished and suspended, but I bet that if a white kid did it, they wouldn't necessarily be getting suspended, right? We are, though.
So you say suspensions is one indicator. Is there any other indicators?
There's definitely social determinants of health, like if there's poverty in the home, if mom and dad's not working too much because aren't able to give the attention to the child, which we all going through tough times, so but if we don't have the resources there, then it's definitely gonna affect the outcomes as well, right? If other siblings or parents were high school dropouts, then there's not much to aspire to for the younger kids, right? Because they're just used to, if there's drugs and alcohol involved, right, in the household,
Yeah.
abuse, yeah, all those are going to affect a child's ability to be able to succeed in school.
Wow. Wow. It just, how much how much more of a concern has the school to prison pipeline become since the pandemic?
That's a good question. I don't know, actually. Now that you mention that, that's a great question. I mean, since kids weren't in school as much during the pandemic, the chances of them being suspended might have decreased considerably, right?
And it's a good point, because I was listening on NPR, National Public Radio, this week, and they said they did a study, and like the average students, and this is the US,
Yeah.
their math scores went backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like their school competencies for a lot of young people went backwards because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Remote learning, all that
Remote
stuff.
learning is not easy on our kids, for sure. Yeah.
Right. And so
and you had to have a computer as well, right? I mean, if you were living in a house you didn't have a computer, you're not learning. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing I'm also wondering on.
Yeah.
And again, because there seems to be a lack of data,
yes,
when it comes to Black Canadians, I'm just wondering how much of an impact all these social determinants have had on the school to prison pipeline when it comes to melanated young people.
Yeah, that's something I might want to look a little bit deeper in my studies. And you bring up a good point about the data, because there's definitely not enough data on us as Black people, right? And partly because we make a decision, we don't want it to be shared, or we don't want to,
and we're not a lot of willing to give it too.
Well, yeah, but that's working against us too, right? I mean, the more we've been talking about problems in the healthcare system forever, and the school system forever, right? And people don't believe us, right? And the only way people can believe us is if we have numbers to show, and that's through data, right? And I can understand why people don't want that shared, right? But we're not going to move farther until I kind of say that tongue in cheek, because we still need the data, but at the same time, it's like we've been talking about this for forever, and white people always are asking us for the data. It's like, what more data do you want? We need to be out of the position where we're stopping this game of getting data for you, because it's already known that this is an issue, right? So we can't keep waiting on their time either, right? So it's like a double-edged sword.
I hear you 150%, Lisa, that it is a double-edged sword, because on one end there's a group of you saying we need data, but on the other end saying the problems are here, we don't need it. I'll just take you to a neighborhood and you'll see the challenge.
Exactly.
But the powers that be who make the decision say we can't make a decision unless we have the data, the numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we need kind of a two-pronged approach. One is you still get the data, but you're still doing something in the community at the same time, right? We can't wait on you to get your data in order for you to make change. So they both need to happen at the same time. That's what I think. Yeah.
From Lisa's lens, are melanated parents taking this subject seriously enough?
I think, I've seen I think there's a lot of parents that are really concerned about their kids. So I've seen both sides, whereby there's definitely advocates in the communities that are totally all about making sure that our kids do better. And, I've seen teachers and principals, Black principals here who are kicking butt, like making a difference for their Black children, the Black students, right? So there's definitely some advocates out there. But it's not enough. There's still a lot of work to be done, for sure.
Would one of the possible solutions be, in your opinion, Black young people being taught by Black people?
That would be ideal, but at the end of the day, we don't have the numbers. Like, Black people make up 2% of the Canadian population. Right? Let's face it. So it would be nice to see, Black teachers, Black doctors, and serving the Black community, but we don't have the numbers. And also, I don't want white people to get off the hook. They need to be culturally competent. They need to check their bias, and they need to learn how to deal with us in a way that's respectful, right? So we need white people to get to, and allies, to get their crap together to make sure that they offer us a good service, right? And once we get kids off the school to prison pipeline, and we're actually giving them the chance to grow and meet their potential, then we'll have more of the doctors and the teachers that are Black that look like us, right? So it's a big there's a lot of different pieces to that puzzle, right? That need to happen for it to work.
So are you saying then, whether we like it or not, if we need a resolution to the school to prison pipe, and we're going to need the help of non-melanated individuals?
Yes, well, we need allies for sure. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, because it's bigger. Yeah, this is a big issue, and the way I see it is, the only way to end racism is for white people to check themselves, right, and realize that they're perpetuating racism by their complacency, right?
Are you hopeful of that?
Cautiously optimistic. Let's be real, right? Let's be real. Like, come on. Not every I don't I've met white people that are totally aware of their bias and actually making a conscious effort to be better.
Okay.
I've met those people, right? They do exist.
Yeah.
And I keep telling them that they need to be the ones to be our voice, because I'm exhausted. I can't be doing this all the time, right? And this is where you, as a white man, for instance, need to go out there and champion and be a great ally and put people in their place for me, right? I'll still do it, because I know that I know for me, as Black people, I think we need to. So this may be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that, when we experience racism, but, I don't even like the term microaggression. I think macroaggression is a better word for it. But when we experience that, we make a decision in that moment how we're going to deal with it. Are we going to let it go? Are we going to say something and stand up? I had today, I was at this morning, I met with another parishioner at church that I know as an acquaintance. And we were talking very briefly about something. And then all of a sudden she says, "Oh, I really like your Whoopi Goldberg hairdo."
What?
And I made a decision in that moment. I didn't say, "Oh, thank you for the thank you." I wasn't going to do that. I just said, "Have a nice day." And I left. Right. So it's like, that was an insult. And I did not take it as a compliment. Right. Or when I had my university sweater on once, and I was teaching a Zumba class, and the older adult, she says, Where'd you get it from?" I'm like, "Well, I'm studying at Dal, like I'm doing my master's." It's like as though I got it from a thrift store, right? And I didn't. That's what I'm saying, right? And so, but we make a decision in those moments to what we're gonna do, right? If we feel, and usually more often than not, we do nothing. We say nothing. We do nothing. We walk away, and then we hold it inside, and we carry that anger, that frustration, that feeling, right?
Yeah.
And what do we do? And so we don't unpack it. We don't talk about it. With anybody, and we hold on to these little everyday moments all the time, and we just push it down, and it's affecting our mental health. It's not worth it. I'm done taking that and keeping that home with me. So, and I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm being more vocal now. We have to find, I'm trying to find ways that are, and I hate the word used, non-confrontational, because me being assertive I'm not being confrontational, but it's seen as that, right? But we need to, I'm finding ways to find the words to stand up for myself. Obviously, if I don't feel safe, I'm not going to do that, because I want to get home alive, especially for our Black brothers. Like, get home alive. It's not worth it. But those moments where you feel safe, like, I was at one of the pharmacies once, and I saw the security guard like following me as I was going to the aisles, right? And at the end, I went to the cash, and I said, "Who's the manager?" And I said, "Listen, that security guard was following me around, and I felt very uncomfortable about being here." She says, "Would you like to complain?" She gave me a number. I said, "Yeah, I'm going to complain." And then the security guard came towards me, or was just in my vicinity, and I said, "Am I going to say something, or am I going to walk away?" And I said, "No, I'm not taking this home with me." So I went to her and I said to her, look, I didn't appreciate you following me around. Oh, I wasn't following you around. You misunderstood. No, I'm not interested in your excuses. I'm not interested in, you're going to hear me. I'm going to say, if you make a decision to wear that uniform, you need to be aware of your body language. And the way you followed me in around the store made me uncomfortable. I wanted to leave. Right. And then I, she still tried to make her excuses. I left. I wasn't on the mood, but I walked out feeling happy that I did that. And I still complained. Right. And so we need to take ownership and not give away our power, because giving away our power is making us sick. It's making us sick, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it anymore. So I got a lot more backbone, right? I don't even know how I got into that topic.
no, it's just flowing. It's just organic.
Yeah,
And this is what I'm loving about our conversations, because they'll hit so many different and relevant areas, because what you just there still has relevancy to the school to prison pipeline.
Exactly.
Right? Because if you don't own your power, someone's going to take it from you.
Exactly.
And control your narrative.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for us to advocate for our kids. Say that this is not okay. You don't get to pigeonhole my child and say that they're learning disabled when you need to learn different ways of teaching my child in the classroom. Right?
Woo! Lisa's on fire. You know what? I gotta pull it out. Good at this. Drop the mic. Love it. Well, you know what? We're going to end it right there with the mic drop on both of our ends.
Okay.
We're going to mic drop both ends. Lisa, first of all, thank you for being a great mother.
Thank you.
Being a great advocate for melanated people, past, present, and future. I put up the if you want to get in touch with Lisa, even though she's on the East Coast, do it. Right? There's her website. There's her email address. There's her phone number. And if you want to book an appointment, everything is all there. And now I'm not doing it at the end. I did show it a little bit earlier during the conversation. There have been some people watching from the beginning, so they can't yell at me saying, they can't say, oh, yeah, Dr. Vibe, he did put on during the thing. So, all right.
I got a great reading program that's remote, so we can figure something out. Yes.
Wow. See, Lisa's she just pulls out another card.
I tell you,
She's got like a Las Vegas Halifax dealer.
I want all of our Black kids doing well in school. I want them succeeding. Even adults that are having trouble reading, we could work with you. I want everyone succeeding. We deserve better. And so we need to see our potential.
You know, it's short little story here. And for those who may or may not know, I've had a journey helping Black men, Black fathers. And I remember a few years ago working with, or helping, I don't like to help, I don't like the word working, helping a Black father. And I gave him, he must have been in his mid 40s. I gave him some stuff and he gave it back to me and said, is there something wrong? He says, I can't read it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Holding on to that for so long, right? Yeah.
I had to read it for him and come along with him. So we've got to accept our people where they're at. Exactly. We have a long history of trauma.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can talk about that next time.
We are definitely. There's so as you see, Lisa's going to be a regular.
I'll be happy to
I may have her on month.
There's a lot to talk about.
Minimum bi-monthly, but maybe monthly regular. And even offline, I'm gonna share her some information of some of the other people that we have on. And I have this vision of having a group of you on together.
That'd be fantastic.
And just dropping knowledge bombs.
Yes. Sounds good.
Just dropping knowledge bombs. But Lisa, again, thank you so much for coming on during Mother's Day. Appreciate it. And we're going to be chatting soon anyways.
Yes, I'll probably see you soon. But thanks.
All right, be well.
I had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for taking time. Remember, you and your family, remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, well, there's Lisa's contact information, everybody. What a great conversation. And you better get used to her. She's going to be on a few times going forward. So I appreciate that. So again, for those people who watched at the beginning, sorry about the audio thing. You know, I had I had this off. So I'm going to be totally honest. But you could still hear me, but probably not as good. The beginning was a little bit funny, but hey, you could still hear me. So most important thing. So a few things as we close out things today. So first things first. If you want to get in touch with me, there are the different places. The website, the drvibeshow.com. Email address dr@the drvibeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter at drvibeshow, and Instagram at the drvibeshow. Would you like to promote your business or service on our show? Contact me at my email address. I said earlier, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, especially on YouTube. And if you do that, subscribe and notify other places, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., etc. Gonna find one other quick thing here for you. Oh, yes, you can catch replays of Black Canada Talking on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on the website. So I think we've covered everything. I love the drop the mic moments, but I think that's the first time myself and a friend, we did drop the mic at the same time. So that was just worth it in itself. So absolutely loved it. So as we close out here, this is how we close out. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And hey, catch me out throughout the week. Sundays, 5 p.m., Black Canada Talking. That's Eastern time. Monday and Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern time, The Morning Vibe with Ryan Knight. And then on Saturday nights at 9 p.m., oh my goodness, we've got State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and Lala. And they, you got to make sure you got some good ears because they get some colorful language about what's going down in the United States socially and politically. So, as we say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourselves grace. And God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good. And let's do what we can to stop the school to prison pipeline. Be well. Yeah. Listen.